Morning and welcome to another edition of XFeed. Today we might go for like 40 minutes to an hour. We'll sort of see. So if you are not having the time for that, maybe pause the stream, save it for later. Otherwise, go grab a drink, get a snack. Today's going to be electric. Thank you so much for coming through. We are talking about the market and the fact that it's going down, down, down to the bottom of the sea. And everybody's freaking out like SpongeBob and his pet Gary, whatever the SpongeBob theme is. Talking about some major players, given news cycles, like what's the major headlines right now? A lot of it's bullish and then it's bearish. We got what's going on with the whole political situation that may or may not be completed within the next hours, days, maybe even week. I don't know what to think, but we'll look at some references and see all the craziness that is here. Thank you so much for tuning in. Ever since I was a small child, I knew I wanted to be indoors on the computer. Wow. That's a funny hat, but also I think a lot of people have that same thought. And what's online? What's on the computer? Right. Well, we're talking about every single day. The Ethereum Foundation linked wallet sold 33 million. They sold $33 million worth of crypto. The Ethereum Foundation linked wallet. So this gets a ton of attention, right? Everybody's sharing this. It's like, oh, the Ethereum Foundation is selling again. But notice that it says a wallet linked to the Ethereum Foundation. So HWW.ETH says it was not the Ethereum Foundation's operation. Fun fact, back in the 2014 ICO, 9% of the ETH supply was allocated to the Ethereum Foundation. Now, Ethereum Foundation holds under 0.3% of the total supply, so you can probably find tons of addresses linked to the Ethereum Foundation after 10 years. And again, anytime a wallet interacts, well, theoretically that's linked to it, and just because it's a big number, well, maybe we shouldn't freak out from that. Sergio, the CEO of Meebits. See, there's so much conversation on the timeline. Like, I don't know how to articulate this the correct way, other than the noise, the energy, everything is back. I'm trying to go more because you can feel it. People are passionate about this stuff once again. Not that they necessarily weren't before, but you can feel a complete shift and the chaos that is starting to ensue everywhere. Sergito, it's amazing to observe how cyclical the psychology of Web3 market participants is. Back in 21, Larva Labs, who is the creator of CryptoPunks, was attacked for not doing anything with punks when Yuga and others were innovating the concept of utility. So think back to 2021. How many years ago was this? There was not a concept of utility, or at least widely adopted at the time, the same way that Bored Apes were, with the assumption of, hey, you're going to get these companion collections, we're going to be doing these games, we're going to be doing these airdrops. There was something to it that gave more life to it. And that's what also, I think, partially spurred the crypto crackdown, because there was so many different things of, oh, wait, how do we classify this? This is all completely new. And so when people say the term, we're early, you don't understand until you put it into perspective the fact that NFT utility wasn't even a thing until the past couple of years. Crazy thought. Today, punks being worth $200,000 plus each hinges on the fact that the market wants them to be left alone. So let's dive into this. There was an artist in residency for CryptoPunks that was called Nina, I believe, and they created this CryptoPunk tunes. I forget exactly what they were, but they were like just CryptoPunks done in a different style. And there was 500 of them, and there was certain holders that would be randomly drop them. And people hated this. They were just going on the hate parade. They didn't like the looks. They thought that it tarnished the brand. Don't do anything for them. Now, we've also seen the likes of Tiffany & Co., the jewelry store, going out and doing very specific, extremely limited edition pings for a handful of CryptoPunks. And that seemed like it went well. But for this artist, people were like, no, we don't want to have something like officially attached to this. And it caused a lot. And so now Yuga gave it to the Node Foundation, and people are happy again because there's no utility. Also in 21-22, Yuga created a historical amount of value for its holders leading up to the other side mint. They were extremely clear that they would pursue that strategy going forward. It was a Herculean ask, and anybody that held their Yuga tokens after did so knowing this. Any disagreement with the strategy should have resulted in exiting the ecosystem. Now, thinking back to the other side mint, it was done in ApeCoin, and that was one of the big moment because everybody was like, Metaverses, we can see the concept with it. Yuga, they haven't missed. They haven't done anything wrong. They have, the best community that's out there. And, well, that's why Ape went to like $20. No surprise, 3 years later, it has been a tall ask, but what was a huge catalyst of the bull run is now seeing the day of light. Yet a growing number of OG holders are expressing disappointment, not at goals being executed, but the lack of attention these have received. The big difference I see here is that the price hasn't moved. This is what this whole thing comes down to, and that's definitely a big problem. And when we talk about these bigger brands coming into the space, do they want something that is having some kind of dollar value associated with it? Well, I mean, to an extent, because they're going to get, the royalties and everything off of it, but the perception of future utility is something that I think is going to stick in a lot of cases. And we've seen where a lot of the times it's some kind of token yield or some kind of airdrop to get something else. And the perceived notion that for the rest of your life, this singular asset is going to pay dividends in some sort, whether it's a lot, whether it's a little. And that's where the other concept of people saying, well, why don't you just have a yearly membership cost to be a part of a club or a part of this, and then do like a yearly drop of a new art collection, but then you also get all the perks of whether they have physical stuff and da-da-da-da-da. And the subscription model, I think, is actually kind of cool, but I haven't seen anybody do there. Is the Bored Ape Yacht Club a better club at 100 ETH floor than it is at a 13 ETH? Who makes up the club? Does Garga becoming a reply guy, as J-Bond suggests, here make being the club better? I mean, so when we talk about founder marketing, and that's a conversation that happens a lot, I think we have a couple different ways of looking at it. I think one way is if there's something that's coming up that is exciting as a holder, and you hear it from a mod in the Discord, the weight of that is probably diminished a pretty large amount. But if you have the CEO that's a leader, that's out there publicly stating this, that has the huge followers of the deal, that everybody gets attention to it, you can kind of drum it up. You know what I mean? Like, imagine that you're at a sporting event and everybody's in the crowd and they're excited over stuff. Like, people live for that. But then it turned into, we can't say certain things because we don't want to have price action that correlates that would potentially be negated if something doesn't happen or something goes wrong. And so now we have a huge amount of people that are just scared to. Well, on the flip side, you see those that are extremely bullish, screaming that every single day, putting numbers attached to it and trying to rally the troops. And we'll see what that looks like. Either way, very interesting thread there from Sergito. So Beanie giving a take about Luca turning around Pudgy Penguin, Spencer doing so with Moonbirds, Garga back as the Yuga CEO, and Finwit Pete guy says none of these projects have done anything remotely relevant or worthwhile. So your first reaction is probably like, what are you talking about? There's been so many things that have been going on, right? But let's make the argument that everybody has their own perception on things, and somebody could look at what Pudgy Penguins have done with doing the toys, doing the live activations. They've done advertisements with some of the biggest companies in the world. They have a YouTube series for the Lils now. They have a card game that's finding huge success. They have, Pengu going great, Abstracts going great, Pudgy Penguin floors going high, right? But for some people, that's completely irrelevant, whether they're not in NFTs, whether they don't care about some of the certain achievements. And again, Bored Apes, they've done several live events. They've done massive treasure hunts where there was like a professional team that spent like 13 hours trying to crack it. And it made all this news. And then they did a mobile game, and Mongrel, who's a big Fortnite pro, ended up winning the tournament and then selling it to the billionaire guy for $1 million and trying to get the people attention for the art NFTs of this on the gaming NFTs. And people again would look at that and, well, maybe I don't care about gaming. Maybe that's irrelevant because it's not relevant in this very moment in time and we don't want to look at the history of things, but everybody has a different perspective on it. And look at this. Do you want to go down a path? This is what Blockbuster used to experience. Apparently there's one left in the world, or unless this is an older video, but think of the nostalgia, the branding, the way things are set up. What an absolute wonder Blockbuster was. And now I have Netflix Crave, every single different channel for everything that's awful and horrible. Bring back the time when we were at Blockbuster. I want to talk about perspective for a second. There's so much, oh my God, we're in a bull market. True. people are talking in such weird ways of like everybody being up. And you forget that the majority of people, at least I think the majority of people that kind of like tune into this, that you see on the timeline and whatnot, are hugely heavy into the NFTs. And maybe they haven't moved. Maybe they've stayed still with the ETH going up, the price down, bada, 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 bada. But like, here's an example talking about NFTs. And this is an extreme example, so it's going to work. But like, think of it in smaller scales. So Stats says, wait, Moonbirds are at 3.8 ETH? I'm only down 80%. So again, Moonbirds at one point were way higher than where they are now. And so the perception is, oh my goodness, everybody's up that bought Moonbirds. And it's like, well, if you bought the dip that everybody keeps saying on the timeline, why does everybody keep saying buy the dip? That's crazy. Of course, if you're going to have some vegetables, you're going to buy some dip with it. But people are still not where they were at all. So we keep talking about, you know, this euphoria and everything else. And I think that it's a very subset of people that have either bought in dips or gotten in like super early. They've just kind of held throughout the entirety of things. So maybe also with perspective. And we're going to go into one here in a moment as well. Yo, Soulflake, what's going on? I miss riding my bike after school to rank games from Blockbuster. Good morning. Yo, that's awesome. I love that. I still remember the Lord of the Rings 2 Towers. I was in like an acting camp, and then like I think I faked sick to go home to watch it on VHS. That was a good series. Hard to repeat. Things this cycle will be different, except for one vital aspect. And this is from the stream the other day. And I think we have the largest amount of PTSD of people that were in the NFT crypto space in any sort of capacity. There's just so much worry. There is so much, okay, we're going to sell instantly. I feel that we're not going to see the same things that we've seen before, except for the fact of 100% everybody's going to be using leverage all the time. Yeah, that's the big catalyst right there. That is the big catalyst right there. And somewhere within here, I don't know. Oh, can I find this quick enough? Yes, I can. So last night, over 126 million were liquidated in just 1 hour, with 125 million of that being long positions. So you're telling me every one that touches leverage was long yesterday? Well, maybe that's why we didn't see like the 4th or 5th weekend in a row where Sunday night just absolutely screamed higher off of nothing. Again, then watch it. Past several Sundays, crypto's just friggin' went. And this one, it was like flat. This morning it's negative. All these horrible headlines where things are also, you know, sort of being positive at the same time and resolutions potentially near. And yo, Braven, I do follow you, but this thing just acts weird when I'm on here. Knights of Degen and League DAO. You might forget some of these things, and it's crazy because at the same time, certain things were like really, really big back in the day. So Knights of Degen revolutionizing how we enjoy sports. They have the Discord. I don't know if their thing's set up, but they partner with UBet Esports Season 2. But it seems like just everything stopped there. I don't know if there was an announcement within the Discord. But again, it's a reminder that while there's a lot of exciting things going on, you do have to kind of be careful because at a moment's notice, there can be something that ends up shutting down. So looking at the backing, looking at team record, looking at the progression of things, I think that just, you know, being aware of what's going but also not being stupid if stuff's like, hey, you know what? This, there's a chance that this is actually something cool. And it's not just based off of something that's like sort of flimsy. Right? Because we've seen a lot of flimsy ideas. They say initially we're going to try to do this, and then like there's literally nothing for that, and then money's over here. They go to that. It's all over the place. So many different opinions. Oh, and then it was just like a comment before that. I don't know if that's really super relevant to the discussion. So Adam G from Portals, this is the guy that I had for the RWA Segments podcast. Again, if you want to check in the link in the description down below on YouTube or on my bio on X, I very much appreciate you guys checking out the podcast. It's really fun, and we have a whole bunch of really cool guests lined up this week. An episode going to be dropping tomorrow. But Adam G's from Portals, and he gave a whole bunch of perspectives about why crypto gaming has problems, but also went on about his experience being in gaming for quite some time and just being bullish on the concept of everything regarding just crypto gaming as a whole, and more people going to come on game. So anyway, enough glazing at him here, but the CEO of Epic Games kind of sort of agrees with you. And this is a quote tweet from Jesse, who works with Coinbase and Base, saying, just started playing Fortnite. This economy would be 10x better on chain. And so Adam went out and found some quotes from the CEO of Epic Games saying, I think the future of the metaverse has to be built on open protocols, open standards, and interoperability of all forms. So, and besides participating in technical standards, if another ecosystem with similar or compatible visual aesthetics and respect for games, ratings, and so on wanted to participate, then perhaps we could connect our economies where if you spend in the Fortnite item shop and then play in a third-party economy, then we revenue share to them. And all of our competitors would gain more revenue too because of the increased opportunity they have to actually reach customers, and players would play more and they would spend more because buying an outfit in this future open metaverse could be owning it everywhere they went, and not just in one Roblox experience or one Fortnite ecosystem that they're participating in as currently the case. So if you're kind of having a light bulb moment for a couple of you out there, if I start an ecosystem that we've been watching, think of the verbiage that was specifically used in this and how similar it is to somebody else who talks just like it. Interoperability can happen through a blockchain. It can happen through a database. It can happen through standards bodies with defining standards and protocols. And we've been doing it for hundreds of years since the railroads were standardized. And it's not something that totally requires a novel technological solution. The fact that Epic Games allows Web3 games development alone shows its interest. So many platforms ban the use of any tools related to Web3 when there are a lot of applications that can be used in many games. So hopefully, yeah, and also to add to that, the CEO, I'm forgetting his name off the top of my head, but he is so vocal on the timeline talking about the damaging blocks. Nah, it's not the right word, but the Apple tax and the Google Play Store, and how they've done certain limitations or not highlighting the right games. And I mean, as an example, there was a huge thing the other day where he's like, hey, so we're not allowed to have like our Fortnite store or something in the EU, but somehow you have this fake version of Fortnite that a bunch of people can get scammed on, and it's highlighted on your front page or something to that effect, right? And he's done a really good job at highlighting the things. And so I think absolutely good person to watch, and the fact that they're on the blockchain side, I think means a fair amount. So Orange Cap Games, this is the team behind Vibes and Moonbirds. Why am I bringing this up? So the reason that I'm bringing this up is actually because of the Yuga connection to this, because this was like a round raised by Yuga Labs, right? So think of people complaining about everything regarding Apes. Of highlighted the other day, there's not enough fun socials. Highlighted the fact that, Yuga's sold off a lot of components of things, and then it's kind of gotten nowhere, and then the reputation's kind of But the big thing that really most people only care about is the fact that they have like the 100 mil plus treasury, and people are like, okay, cool, you're safe from that. And then you look to the Web 2 world, and suddenly you're seeing all of these treasury companies and people trying to invest as their company into other companies. But in this case, it's cryptos, right? And just saying, okay, we kind of have our Web 2 thing, but also we're going to maybe be looked at as a treasury company for said crypto. And so what happens if, right, and this is all completely hypothetical, but let's say other side doesn't really hit, it's all right. Well, it doesn't matter. They can keep going. But then, if they've been out there investing in some of these other things, and remember what we heard from Yatsiu the other day of saying, hey, small amounts here and there, you never know. Like there's so many things within the blockchain space that are at certain prices that can go crazy. Well, how does that work? And so does Yuga Labs potentially come into one of the biggest treasury companies? Right? Because we see Animoca brands doing that right now, but we don't see anybody else. So that was just a thought I had because I seen that pop on the timeline. But then this is one thing we also got to be careful of too. Because when we look at historical NFTs, there's no kind of like input or way for people to really just screw it up. because it's just historical. But when there's utility involved, right? Here's an example. So Black Apple saying, advertising the Bored Ape Yacht Club super plastic vinyls as token gated and limited edition. I bought them all. And then seeing them blown out for 80% off, I was not a good look. I'd stay away from going back to selling merch to the community for a bit. So again, like these vinyl figures were over $200. And then because they didn't sell out, they had extra inventory, whatever, they're just like, we're going to completely take out the price. And that's where things on the blockchain, where there is that extra transparency, we still have slight fumbles like this. So hands up if you're scared about updating your computer to Windows 11. I don't know. I've asked before, I've posted on X, people have said, generally it's fine. I've seen horror stories at the same time. Oh, sorry, Soulflake, exactly. Now with Nintendo taking ownership of the Switch 2, there's so many greedy companies preying on their customers. Yeah, true. And so apparently if you didn't know, there is actually an option to keep your Windows 10. If you still want to use Windows 10, you can make sure your PC still receives security updates by enrolling in the Extended Security Updates program. Why does everything make you just pay for more and more? I mean, we already have that thing with these phones where they eventually go kaputs, and then you get a computer, and then all of a sudden you got to update the operating system, and there might be bugs, and there might be this and that. Just absolutely unbelievable. Oh, but guess what? If you want, you can just pay a subscription, like a gym membership that you're never going to use. Keep it going. Unreal. Unfriggin' real. So the story protocol, we highlighted this yesterday, and I think that it's always good to go back on something when it's perceived in a negative light to try to give the other end of the spectrum. Love doing the whole fence sitting thing. So yesterday, story protocol, this was like Saturday or Friday. Maybe it was Friday. The story protocol co-founder, Exit Story, was gotten completely wrong. The villain is not always who it seems to be. From what I've seen in other startups over the years, here's what probably happened. Okay, so we get a little bit of business behind the scenes here. His co-founder couldn't handle sharing the stage with James. The co-founder with a bigger ego found a way to gain leverage to push the other out, likely via a large investor support. They negotiated a decent exit package for James, and he stays on as a strategic advisor and title, and they let him continue vesting for some portion of the tokens. Those tokens he has vested can't be dumped. There's a contractual obligation for an orderly exit, very specific of what he can and can't do after exiting the business, and very specific and less than ideal comms about his exit. So is it really people are just not the greatest? Is it really just that? The current state of Canada, summarized in 19 seconds. If this doesn't make you laugh, you're not having a good day.
On behalf of the University of Toronto and our partners here at Electra, it's my pleasure.
No, it's all crumbling. What's going on? Take a look at this. This is in Toronto. What are we doing? Buddy just absolutely flatbended his front end and he's driving around. Oh yeah, and then look over here. Holy shit. Somebody's on the wrong side of the road and they're just sitting there. What are we doing? Unreal. And then this. So let's talk about this for a brief second, because I think that if you look to the UK, there's a lot of like angst in the world, right? And it's like the people are standing back up. And so like in Canada, the Air Canada like flight attendants, they went on strike. And then I guess the Canadian government is able to say like, hey, you got to go back to work. And then the flight people are like, oh, okay, cool. Never mind. So now they're not. And so people are defying the system, all right? When defying the system happens, listen, where do you go where the underground lives? Oh, we're here. Universal Basic Framework. It is groundbreaking. We've talked about Sylo before. Listen, the data, the AI, the Metaverse, all this kind of stuff. Readyverse. We've highlighted it. It's a metaverse platform, sort of. It's like a launch pad, more or less, that you go into these other experiences. Abstract Chain is launching a game called Chronoforge. This Chronoforge game is actually going to be connected on Readyverse. But, what about Sylo has to do with Readyverse? Well, the spaces is one thing, but then when you go into the Readyverse early access and it pops up saying this is the Sylo platform, I almost fainted. So can you explain how that is fully integrated? Because that one I was not expecting that.
Yeah, so as I mentioned earlier, like when we built these protocols, it's been hard to visualize how they can show up for an application or experience. But if you take something like Sylo, it's touching a number of different points in Readyverse. So out the gate, the UBF blueprints are stored in a Sylo. The asset register, which connects which tokens you own to your access to those different areas, is built on the Sylo network. So on Sylo protocols, and so all of the underlying bits that power the Readyverse are built on TRN and Sylo. Those are the two like kind of protocol layers.
Not bad, not bad. And then what does Ben Jordan have to say about this? That's what are the goods?
That was really the epiphany for Sylo. Like if we could apply that, if we could be the solve for that data problem, then now it's not just about an individual's comms, it's actually about data for the metaverse, or the data layer for the metaverse, which is now what Sylo has evolved into. And when you think about data, what we're really talking about here is any and all data that can be associated to anything in the metaverse, whether that be people or whether that be assets that live in the metaverse. There needs to be protocol and a network and an agreed way to draw on any kind of data that an experience or user might need. And if you can do that in a way that is decentralized and not reliant on one kind of all-seeing party, then you're solving the walled garden problem for the metaverse, which is really in essence what needs to happen for the metaverse to be open. So that was the thinking. That's how the whole story evolved, and that's where we are now. We're the data layer for the open metaverse, and it's a really important part to enable the breaking down of the walled garden piece.
So can we go back to the CEO of Epic Games talking about open protocols, open metaverse? That's interesting. So do you think that I just shilled you something? Well, you'd be absolutely right. But I want to give an example of what the timeline is and why I'm trying to encourage you, be passionate about what the hell ever you're passionate about, because now is the time. People are paying attention. And so Raoul, on the topic of shilling, is now highlighting whatever the hell these, I don't know if it's a toaster, I don't know if it's a pan. My ultra elite SEAL team of 13 toe buyback, Gristle Buddies, high obscurely pure Steven Seagal approved diet of meat, Zantac, and Buzzballs are going to storm the Olive Garden, demand breadsticks. I have no idea, but I mean, these things are selling for what, $800? What the hell's 0.2 right now? Like $800, $700? You have everybody out there that's showing whatever. Hey, they're all, hey, look at this other odd. The Van Arman reflective. I mean, I could probably go back in my collection somewhere. There was somebody that gave me like a free NFT that looked exactly like this, and they were just like trying to start, right? And they never had any sales, and these ones are going for 0.17. So where are the narratives coming from? Where are you getting your information? Where is stuff coming from? People are out here, and they're out here shilling again. That was the crazy liquidations that we saw earlier. CyberKongz, the banana token. Well, we can't have alt season unless all these teams come out and start saying, hey, listen, we got some utility. We're changing the tokenomics of something that's not working. And CyberKongz is a collection that has a couple different collections. One's a voxel style collection. One's a baby version of these ones that are pixelated. And then these ones that are pixelated that are like the adult version. And there's 1,000 of these. These yielded banana tokens a day. And they're changing all of it. So token going to have new mechanics, tokenomics, distribution, liquidity levels, utility, and use cases, accessibility, and also a new I don't know. But me just saying that, how many of you would say, you know what? Let me go look at the CyberKongz ecosystem. I feel like not many of you. Listen, I'm not going to lie. I feel like not many of you. And this is where things come from, is how do these collections get new fans? Sure, you can change up the tokenomics and whatnot. Sure, you can have these utilities, but who's going to be the one that's like, hey, I like these, and not be the guy earlier who's like, these collections have done nothing of relevance? Because that's a perspective. Schwab investors demand crypto. I mean, if you demand something, holy smokes.
We also anticipate launching Bitcoin and Ether sometime soon so that our clients have access to that. And we think that'll be an acceleration of our growth, because what we hear from many of our clients are that they have 98% of their wealth here at Schwab, and they might hold 1% or 2% at some digital native firm to hold their crypto. And they really want to bring it back to Schwab because they trust us. They want it to sit alongside their other assets. And so we think we'll see some real growth.
They trust us. It's true. People are familiar with whatever system that they've been involved in. So a lot of people say, I don't want to learn this space. I don't want to get into it because it takes effort. It takes a bit of knowledge. There is ways to screw it up. Most people are not going to want to do anything with it. So here's Mark Cuban for your advice of the day.
You only have to be right one time. You don't have to figure it all out in advance. You can be wrong. You can pick the wrong career. You can pick the wrong job. You can pick the wrong spouse. You can pick the wrong whatever. But you get it right one time, you're set. But if you don't try, and if you don't go out there and try all those different things, you'll never get that one time.
There is your positive take of the day. Hell yeah. All right, I'm going to bring up a whole bunch more posts here. So if anybody's got any thoughts on what we've talked about on stream, oh my goodness, that was loud. Feel free to let me know. I will take uno momento here, and I probably should put up like the be right back screen, but I will be awkward and stand here. I don't know what to think. Like the Raoul Paul with the art stuff, I definitely agree there's going to be some things, but also I look at that and like the things that he posted, like I don't... What's like the mass appeal? Is it just the fact that this is going for a lot of money? Is it something that people feel like emotionally attached to in some sort of sense? What exactly does that look like? And yeah, so there's all the talk with the White House right now and what's going on with all of the world leaders. People are also flipping some insane stuff here. Oh, all right, cool. I bookmark a lot. And then I realized I don't want to use like half of it. Oh, okay. All right. There's a lot of like really good things here. And we're going to talk about CZ. We're going to talk about the fact that Thailand's doing stuff. We're going to be talking about how there's certain sales for collections that are just at a point that I don't know if it's emotions. I don't know if people are trying to move before the market reacts. Again, there was a clip that I posted this morning. If you follow me on X, it was from Bill Noble's stream, and he talked a little bit earlier. And it was like, this is like the last dip buying. I was like, all right, I'm gonna have to clip Bill Noble every single day of one of these bullish takes. That is... Okay, we're also going to talk about some global news, too. I forgot that I shared some different stuff. And we got Bill Noble's post as well. We'll play that one first. Perfect. All right, cool. Thank you for your patience. Let's get back into it. A bullish Bill Noble keeps the bears away. At least that's what I want to say.
This literally is last chance shopping. This literally is last chance shopping.
That's Bill Noble. Yeah, sorry, I should probably put like an actual graphic behind that. My apologies for it. You're right. I just figure it looks kind of stupid while I'm going through all of the different posts. Okay. This is another thing that I saw from Notorious the other day, and we talked about it on stream, but take a look at this. $1.82 billion stablecoin entry into Binance signals possible price upswing. In quotes, such inflows often signal an intention to deploy funds into the spot market, either for strategic accumulation or short-term trading opportunities. You can see right around. So that orange line, right? That was August 13th. Stablecoins flood the market. I mean, what did that look like? So we say August 13th. Do we see that in ETH? Do we see that in Bitcoin? What does it look like? We go back to the 13th. Well, there's the 12th, 13th. Market still stays high, and then it comes down. So I didn't see anything within Bitcoin there, assuming that was actually accurate, right? Because you never know. And then the 13th, if you go early morning of the 13th, huge inflows, it goes up, and then it falls back down. So maybe it was a Bitcoin buy. Maybe it was nothing. This morning at 1 a.m., update, Ethereum's leveraged short positions hit a record high. Post we played earlier, clippy clip. talking about how everybody's using leverage. All-time high. A record high. Leverage is well and good in the ecosystem. Just in Thailand, launches program allowing tourists to convert crypto to the local currency. So question for you, if you're like actually holding any crypto, does it be like, oh, you know what? Sure. I can just do a trade for Thailand currency when I get there. Hell yeah. Or set it up ahead of time, whatever it may be. Yeah. Almost makes you want to go and visit there, you know? Maybe spend a little. What does it look like for crypto tourism? That's the question. CZ apparently helping out with that. He made a tweet too. At one point, these were going for 200 ETH. This is just a spacesuit on a Bored Ape Yacht Club. And this is going for like basically floor, not that high. But you're seeing the other day where rare trades were going crazy. And I don't mean the fake ones, but we saw some trippies. And there was the gold one a month ago. People getting a little wary on the rare trades. Joe Karoff, creator of James Bond iconic 007 logo, has died at 103. That's crazy, 103. But also, what an iconic logo for the agent, 007. Ethereum, interest over time. Yeah. Take note, way back to 2015. It's coming back. People are looking. Today, I'm honored to share that I'll be stepping in the role of CEO at CoinGecko as my co-founder, TM Lee, transitions to Presidente. What began as a side project has grown into a global platform used by millions. TM's vision and leadership laid the foundation of CoinGecko. Together, we built something bigger than we ever imagined, and I'm grateful to keep pushing alongside him. As CEO, I'll stay true to the values we've held since day one: transparency, integrity, and putting our users first, while leading CoinGecko into its next phase of growth and innovation. So, CEO change. What else does this look like across the space? I'm not trying to insinuate anything, really. But what does it look like? If CEOs change, does it need to be complete teams, like entirely, where a CEO doesn't do anything? You have to have like a complete takeover here and there. It is going to be a drama season of some sort. And I feel like we've also not seen, maybe we have in the meme space because I don't really follow that, but like a notable player, like a very, very notable player, jumping from one major collection to another. I don't know if we've seen that, unless there was like a team or something that like stopped operations. Obviously, we've seen some people be like, hey, if that company's not doing anything, hit us up. But I think there's going to be a lot of it. Taxi drivers are blocking roads, saying South Africans can't have more than one passenger in their cars, regardless of whether the kid's family, friends, or colleagues. If caught, you might be damaged or destroyed. Listen, there is like absolute craziness going on in the world. We just looked at how half the people on the road are driving on the wrong side of it. There's a lot of angst going on and a lot of turbulence. And I still am of the belief people are just going to be like, man, it is a nightmare going out. And everybody's just going to be online more and more and more. And we're going to be here online with you to cover it. That's going to be it for this edition of XFeed. Thank you guys so much for coming on through. I'll catch you tomorrow. Soulflake, thanks for coming through on the chat. Have a good one.